Hello, I'm Susan Okereke, and I aim to get more people to do the maths thing. So when I say maths, or math, if you're from a region that says math, how do you feel? When you're at school or university, how did you find it? When you're having to do it in everyday life, what emotions come up? I just want to sit with that for a minute. I want to share what I believe maths to be. I think maths is so much more than just a correct answer, and we get kind of stuck with that view sometimes. Also, I think maths is primarily about seeing patterns, making connections, and solving problems. It's an incredibly creative subject. It's often also really collaborative. People should be and working together, and it's about communication. And I also believe, and I don't think we say this enough, that maths is an incredibly emotional subject. So why do I teach maths? Okay, I teach it for a variety of reasons, but number one, I teach it because I love to teach it. I think it's fantastic the way it can really, really support people to go on to much bigger and better things. I also believe everyone can learn maths, and also the potential opportunities that studying maths can give you are massive. And with that, I also believe that maths teachers have a crucial role in making the world a fairer place. I did a master's a few years ago in teaching, and it really highlighted the transformative nature of education, but specifically maths education, which I will kind of go into more detail in a bit. But I'm also fully aware that maths has a really, really bad reputation in some countries. Negative attitudes to maths in the UK, where I'm based, are very, very, very common. This quote sums it up really quite well. It is culturally acceptable in the UK to be negative about maths in a way that we don't talk about other life skills. We hear, I can't do maths so often, it doesn't seem a strange thing to say. And this quote is from a report that was done by the National Numeracy charity, which is based in the UK, which is aimed to improve numeracy in adults. And I say this, I know that I'm speaking specifically about the UK, but it's much wider. I know that there are issues in America and in a variety of other sort of regions where it's culturally acceptable to say that you are bad at maths. And I challenge this, I bring this out to highlight because the impacts of poor numeracy are actually very, very, very high. Here are a few. So from research that was done by the National Numeracy charity, it actually has been proven that poor numeracy is a much higher indicator of disadvantage than literacy. So, for example, that adults with poor numeracy skills are twice as likely to be unemployed than those with poor literacy skills. Also, with regards to school exclusions, students who have poor numeracy but good literacy are twice as likely to be excluded than those students who have poor numeracy. And then with regards to being in prison, young people and adults, the levels of numeracy are so low that there's a huge percentage, 65% of adults in UK prisons have numeracy levels lower than an 11-year-old. So it's huge. And the impact of improving numeracy is so much more potentially powerful. So with improving numeracy skills, the impact on society means that there is a population that's able to grow and strengthen an economy that can compete globally, but also everyone who is numerate is able then to maximize their life chances and contribute positively to society, which kind of benefits everybody. So, how do we improve attitudes to maths? What do we do? And that is the big question. And I sort of come to you today, really my aim is to encourage thought, discussion and collaboration, but mainly I'm directing this information and these thoughts to teachers and parents. And I do this because teachers and parents, we have the power to change students' brains. And this is by helping them to be better learners and helping to support them to think about the learning process in an active way. I got this information, these thoughts from a course I did on the science of learning. And what was really amazing about it was the idea that it was looking at what was going on in the brain, but also what that meant emotionally in the learning process. And some of the key bits of information that kind of came out of the course were that the learning process, there are three parts to it. You've got engagement, building knowledge, and consolidation. And actually, it can be quite cyclical, but they're the three kind of main processes that are occurring, and the brain is obviously very active in that. And I'm actually going to focus on the idea of engagement, because there's actually a lot of resources, a lot of research around building knowledge and consolidation, but we don't really talk enough, I think, about how do we engage learners in the learning process. And also I want to sort of have a little bit of time to talk about the idea of student mindset and what we can do to make it a much more positive thing. So engagement. So learning begins with engagement. I think this is something that many teachers aren't necessarily fully aware of. And it's this idea of almost priming the brain for learning. And this can be done through using rewards. And it doesn't have to be sweets or money. It's the idea of just things that kind of encourage the students to kind of get turned on to learning. Things like novelty, sitting next to a friend, giving them a choice to do different tasks. And for different students, the rewards will be different. And the whole idea is to try and encourage an approach response in the brain, where the brain is thinking, oh, there's something happening that I want to do. And by doing that, what happens is the brain then is more primed to take in information and to retain it. On the flip side, if a student is feeling fear, anxiety, an avoidance response occurs, and the student then is turned off to learning. And what happens there is they actually want to go away from the learning situation. And if that is the case, doesn't matter how well you've planned your lessons, what you're planning to do with them, doesn't matter how good you think it is. If they have an avoidance response, if they're anxious or fearful, they will not engage with the learning that you have done, however good the process, the procedure is that you have kind of planned. Okay, so this really has transformed my teaching, because now I spend a lot of time thinking about cultivating a learning environment that is welcoming, safe, and engaging. And I say welcoming because for many students, they're coming from a variety of places with a variety of need, and it's about them knowing that I believe in them and that I like them effectively. You don't have to be their best friend. It's about just giving them an air of understanding that you appreciate them as an individual and that you appreciate the fact that they have a unique brain, they have unique needs. Safety, I think, is also a hugely important thing, especially in a maths classroom where things are challenging, and challenges are part of the learning process. And I think it's important to create a space where learners understand and acknowledge the fact that they will make mistakes, and that is okay. It is going to be difficult, and that is okay. And it's about encouraging a space where they can do that safely and also encourage each other. And as I mentioned before, the idea of engagement and trying to effectively turn them onto learning through thinking of different ways of getting them primed to the learning process. But also, so that's what I like to sort of do with regards to setting up my learning space. But also, it's about really getting the students to think that they can do the work. Mindset is the key to learning. If a student believes they cannot, they will not. If they believe they can, there is a chance that they will. And so it is important for us to share with them the belief that ability comes through effort. So it's going to be hard sometimes, but that's totally fine. You work hard, there's a struggle. On the flip side of that, once you've done it, the success feels fantastic. And that's what we need to be encouraging our students to buy into, the effort and the struggle and the success on the other side. And we can teach them this idea of a growth mindset, that effort is part of learning and things aren't fixed. You have quite a lot of control of what is possible to do. And we need to encourage them to think, you can do it if you believe you can. And we have to effectively show to them and model the fact that we believe that they can do it as well. So I say this, and I say this to parents as well as teachers, because parents, you have the biggest impact on students' lives. I have heard parents in lessons and also in parents' evenings saying, oh, I can't do maths. I send them to their dad if maths comes in. I've never been good at it. And then I've heard students say this, that they can't do maths, my parents can't do math, my family can't do maths. I had an 11-year-old student once say to me, I can't do maths, but that's okay because girls can't do maths. You've got to be careful about what you say. It's about encouraging the idea that struggle is real, but it feels good and we can do it together. So please, parents, talk positively about maths, especially when it's challenging. Point out maths in everyday life. It's everywhere. It's around you. It's in cooking. It's in decorating. It's in the buildings we kind of live in. It's in the stars. Maths is everywhere. And please, please, please praise your children for the effort rather than talent. Okay? Because if they can sit and be resilient within a problem or any type of thing they're doing, you're encouraging them to be strong and lifelong learners. And I want you to also say to them as well that maths is for everyone. So when I say to you, how do you feel about maths or math? I'm hoping now that you may be a little bit more positive if you weren't before, or feel more empowered to kind of support your students or your kids, or even friends you might have that find it challenging, but also with a view to helping them to be more positive and empowered and capable in doing it. So I hope that you found this encouraging, and here is more about me.